FT Live instant reaction post-game show presented by Fox One. We have Erik Kratz and Kevin Pillar. I'm Scott Braun. KP, our more recent former big leaguer and former Blue Jay, watching this team and doing some analysis for Blue Jays TV and not seeing the same team from the division series. We want to give a ton of praise to the Mariners for going through a marathon, Game 5 in the DS, and now going up 2-0 against the Toronto Blue Jays, heading back to Seattle. KP, what are you seeing in this series after this one was a drubbing?
I think it's more about what the Mariners are doing than the Blue Jays are doing. I think they're staying consistent with their game plan and what they've always done. I think this is just a team that everyone kind of always feared. If they got the hitting, they matched the pitching. If the pitching matched the hitting, this is always a team people feared. If the Mariners were able to get to the playoffs, this is the type of team people thought they could be.
Yeah.
Kratz, go. What do you got for me, man? 10-3. Mariners beat up the Blue Jays. Trey Savage did not look like the dude who went 5 and change hitless against the Yankees. 11 strikeouts that last time around. Splitter wasn't the same. Did you see, let's start there. Did you see a Trey Savage that didn't have his best stuff? Did you see a Mariners team that has a superhuman named Jorge Polanco? Obviously wasn't the only one to contribute to the 10 runs, but he's unstoppable right now. They're going to have to figure out how to circle his name in the lineup card going forward. What do you got?
I mean, I would say Trey Savage maybe ran into a little bit of bad luck, not getting calls on 2 guys that he struck out. But I think it's because the Mariners took the opposite approach that the Yankees took. The Yankees were like, we're swinging. We're going to do damage. You say he's unhittable, we're going to hit. Oh, shoot. We struck out 11 times. The Mariners were like, if it's so unhittable, if we can't hit it, then we might as well not swing until we see some more pitches. Take the Julio Rodriguez at bat. He went splitter, strike, didn't even offer at it. And then he was like, you know what? We'll go back to another one. And he just ended up being a slow fastball, middle of the plate. I think it was 88 or 89. And so I think the approach was definitely a team approach. They just kind of waited him out, and Doug Eddings wasn't calling very many borderline pitches, and so it didn't go his way. And I think a lot of things could have swayed a little bit, maybe. And I think the biggest thing would have been maybe Trey Savage stays in the game and has an opportunity to get himself out of those jams instead of the 3-run homer that Louis Varland gave up.
Yeah, Trey. Doug Eddings was quite bad this evening, calling balls and strikes. It's not just the misses for me; it's the timeliness of the misses. KP, I mean, Doug's been around for a long time, but what did you see there?
Yeah, we were touching on this in the earlier show today about umpires. I just think that they're finally held to like a really high standard, and they're expected to lock it in. I mean, a lot of these umpires are umpiring games that only people in their local market are watching. Now this is national TV. We're down to the Final Four. There's an overcompensation that these umpires have to make because the whole world's watching, and they tend to err on the side of small because they've been so big all year, and it tends to people tend to make a bigger deal about the pitches that are outside the strike zone that are called strikes as opposed to these borderline pitches or pitches that just clip the strike zone called balls. So I think we're just seeing a huge overcompensation from a group of umpires that don't really have to fully lock it in every single day during the year. And now they're held to this higher standard because the whole world's watching.
And pushing forward, Kratz, the Blue Jays are in trouble. The Mariners are a force right now. They're riding momentum. They're up 2-0, heading back home. And then you line up the starting staff at home, which we already know about, as George Kirby Game 3 matching up against Shane Bieber. Game 4 will be Luis Castillo. Game 5 might be Brian Wu if he's feeling up to it. And depending on where the series is at, we might not even have a game 5. And if we have to flip back, then we'll do that. And the starters will be in a better place. We can get to Logan Gilbert coming off short rest, not having his best stuff. But going forward for a moment here, how in control are the Mariners? It's hard to see them suddenly falling in what? 4 out of the next, what does it have to be here? 4 out of the next 6 or 4 of the next 5?
5.
Right? 4 out of the next 5.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that happening from Seattle, given the starting pitching staff that they've had that we've talked about for years, given the bullpen in a really good place, not to mention they barely used any of the big boys. I think 3 out of the 4 big boys weren't used in this game too, because it was a blowout. And the offense, it's just hard to see the offense not having some nights where some homers get bashed, some clutch hits come through. Okay, maybe you could see the offense quieting a little bit, but I don't know. It's just hard to see this team suddenly falling apart here.
I mean, I think the game from here on out. We're not going to have 10-3 games, most likely. The reason we have those early is because I think managers kind of stay like, okay, I'm going to stay with this guy a little bit longer. As the series goes on, we're going to have 3-2 games. We're going to have 4-3 games. We're going to have close games because everyone's just going to blow out their bullpen. Everyone's going to just use these guys. And to me, one-run games at home, the Mariners are, even if this series was tied, they would swing to the Mariners' favor because they're playing the next 3 at home in Seattle. Seattle has never been to the World Series. The fans are going to be rabid. And I think the team, while I would have never said this coming into the series, this team is playing better than the Blue Jays. They proved it in the first 2 games. I would have said nobody's playing better than the Blue Jays right now or the Dodgers. We'll see what happens in the other series, but it shows you that you come in riding the momentum of a tough series, which in my opinion shouldn't have been a tough series with the Tigers. And then you come out and you prove that you're dominating your opponent. They're dominating the Blue Jays right now at their home. Blue Jays were 54-27 at home. You know the team that had the second best home record in the American League? Seattle Mariners. And everybody said it. We talked to Brent Rooker. I talked to Brent Rooker when I went to Kansas City earlier this year. And he goes, dude, this bullpen, oh my gosh, this bullpen's ridiculous. And that's if you get past their starters for the Mariners. They're just a suffocating rotation to bullpen isn't that what you need for the postseason? Isn't that what KP said? That's what we've said for the last 2 years. Don't let this team get in. Now you see the Astros let this team get in, and they're 2-0 in the American League Championship Series.
Yeah, and this was the game that Toronto had to have, KP. You had it lined up. I mean, I get it. You gave up a home run early if you're Toronto and Trey Savage, but they caught back up. They tied the game early by the bottom of the second inning. We're tied, right, with Toronto doing their thing. Logan Gilbert did not have his best stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything Kratz is saying, especially the Mariners are just playing better than the Blue Jays. But I think this series just has funkiness written all over it. I think everyone would have thought Blue Jays at home, having the rest, not having to come off that emotional series that the Mariners did, going deep in the game, having their bullpen in shambles, their pitching in shambles. It just seemed like it was destiny that the Blue Jays would win the first 2 games at home. They had their ace in Kevin Gausman. Then they had Trey Savage, who didn't give up a hit in his first playoff game. The Mariners go in and beat them. Now we fly across country. We go to the West Coast. We go to Seattle, the team that has the second best home record in the American League. Their pitching plans are perfectly in line. Their bullpen is rested. This just feels weird to me. This just feels like there's going to be a series where if you try to predict that what's going to happen, if you're betting on the favorites to win, it just feels weird. And I think the Blue Jays are not down and out. This is coming from experience, someone that was down 2-0 in a 7-game series in an ALCS. You go in and you win the first game. You obviously try to win that second game. But if you just can figure out a way to get that series back home, you got to love getting back home. So they just got to figure out a way to win 2. They don't have to win all 3. I would feel confident them coming back 3-2, down 3-2, back home to Toronto in front of the best home crowd in baseball. And, I mean, from there, anything can happen. But I don't think they're out. I just think there's something weird going on in this series where if you try to predict what's going to happen, the opposite's going to happen.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quickie break. It's quick, and then we'll swing back. We'll look at how the starting pitching lines up on the Blue Jays side. We'll also highlight how the Mariners offense got the job done tonight easily, showing off their power. Be right back. KP, we both love Omaha steaks. My latest order, 6 private reserve filet mignons. It sounds bougie because it is. They were fantastic. And also 1.5 pounds of jumbo cooked shrimp with a big initial discount and then an additional $35 off with the code FOUL. You have been a long time Omaha Steaks guy too.
Yeah, back in college, I would always order steaks. I'd put them in my freezer, and that's the reason I bulked up, is because I always had fresh steaks in my freezer ready to go.
Delicious protein. Get after it, okay? It is the best in the biz. If you're ordering steaks online, you can save big with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code FOUL at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Promo code FOUL at checkout. All right, we're back. We talked about how Seattle is lined up really nicely the next few games with their starting staff, which for years has been, if not the best, top 2 or 3 in baseball, right? KP, on the Blue Jays side, Shane Bieber was the big hired gun, acquired at the trade deadline, was okay, right, against the Yankees. You need him and then probably a Max Scherzer start in game 4 before you start thinking about what's next. What do you think of these next couple games coming up?
I mean, I like the Mariners guys better, but I would have said that about the Blue Jays guys in the first 2 games too. I would have liked Kevin Gausman and Trey Savage. So I don't know what's going on in this series. It feels weird, but I do know Shane Bieber's been in this situation before. He's been in big games. He's pitched in the postseason. He didn't pitch terribly in New York. He just, he got kind of dinked and dunked a little bit. His command wasn't the best. It wasn't the sharpest stuff he had. But what I do know, because I watched it in New York, he's going to be on a short leash, especially down 2-0. So he's going to have to show that he can be very dominant early if he wants to pitch deep into this game.
Maybe the Mariners are also huffing and puffing Kratz because they beat Skubal twice. I mean, they won Skubal games twice. Now they head home.
4 times. The Mariners, it's almost like they go, okay, well, what is your best pitch or who is your best pitcher? And they're like, oh, well, we'll get up for this game. We'll figure out how to do this. Like, they're a train right now. And Shane Bieber has the ability to do well. I never, I feel like the Yankees see Bieber really well, so maybe that's not a good barometer, but he's pitching well. Has he pitched dominantly since his first outing? Since his first outing with the Jays, has he been dominant? And to me, if he's going to give them length because of the quick hook, because of the off day, because of the fact that they're down 2-0, he's got to almost dominate the first 5-6 innings for John Schneider to say, okay, I'm going to get 90 pitches out of you. I'm going to get 85 pitches out of you, because he's gone to that quick hook, keeping his team in the game, and it hasn't worked out so far.
And the weakness for Toronto is their bullpen, KP, and it's letting them down so far.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have, except for, maybe a couple guys in the back end, they don't have like a ton of swing and miss guys that you can bring in. And, you need to have guys in the bullpen that have swing and miss, because there's going to be situations in the game you need to get strikeouts, and the Blue Jays don't just have those guys in the bullpen. They are really good when they can get to a lead and they can kind of mix and match their bullpen and match up. But when you're asking those guys to have to cover, 13, 15, 17 outs, it gets a little thin, and that's where the Mariners, like Brett Rooker said, and I experienced when I was with the Angels, there was always this big talk about the Mariners starting pitching, for obvious reasons. On any given day, they're rolling out, a 1 or 2 starter, legit starting pitching, but the bullpen was always nasty. You start at that back end with Munoz, and then you go to even, the last guy in their bullpen. They all have swing and miss stuff, and it's suffocating. Like Brett Rooker said, it's very suffocating. No matter who comes out of that bullpen, it's stuff. It might not be the best pitchability, but it's stuff. And at the end of the day, stuff plays.
So the game was decided in the 5th inning, right? You Savage pitching, velo is down a little bit. You get an infield single and a bad throw from Jimenez, and then they intentionally walk Cal Raleigh and they bring in Louis Varland. He strikes out Julio Rodriguez. I think that pitch was center cut fastball, and then and that's okay. I mean, Louis Varland throws hard, but here's my question for you, KP. I don't know if you faced him, but you certainly have faced many guys that look like Louis Varland in terms of stuff out of the bullpen. Jorge Polanco, hits a 3-run home run on a fastball that caught the middle of the plate. Are you seeing too much of that from Louis, who's given up some big home runs? You look at him and you're like, on the outside, this looks really good. This guy is pumping heat. He can strike guys out, but he's also giving up big hits, including big homers.
I mean, that would be a better question for Kratz. I mean, he's the catcher. He's got the better view. But my question to Kratzy would be, you have the big arm and the big stuff, but at the end of the day, fly ball pitcher, right? That's a situation where you maybe, when you have first and second, economically, you're trying to get a sinker baller in there, someone that uses really hard to get the ball in the air. You try to get those 2 outs on one swing, and then you just do what you got to do to get the last guy out. But bringing in a fly ball pitcher who also has some swing and miss stuff is kind of a risky play right there. I don't know what Kratz thinks, as a catcher. You have some confidence when this guy's got like a sinker that's hard to get in the air. You feel like you can get 2 outs on one swing of the bat, kind of lowers the temperature in the room. Runner at third base with 2 outs feels a whole lot different in an inning.
To me, besides Hoffman, Louis Varland's the guy you're going to. So we're talking about this because what Scott said, that was the game. He comes in, slams the door. That game might swing in the Mariners' favor, but he didn't. And he has given up some big homers. To me, it seems like hitters are not surprised when he starts that splitter and it runs way off the plate. Like it's not even like a close take. And they're on his 100 miles an hour. Now, obviously one of his home runs was against Judge, which was ridiculous that he hit that. But for me, Louis Varland's he's getting a lot of contact out front. For 100 miles an hour, you need to get some guys that are taking you the opposite field, like taking you out because you're going elevated up and away, and they're taking you out. To me, he's either showing them something, he's tipping something, or he's not moving their feet enough. And he has to do that because if this series goes past 5 games, however many games it goes, Louis Varland's going to be in there. John Schneider has proven he is not going down without Louis Varland pitching. Jeff Hoffman didn't pitch. He's your closer. Louis Varland's what I would call your secondary closer. In the situation, in the lane, he's the guy. He is the guy they want Julio to face. He's the guy they want to turn Jorge Polanco around. And it didn't happen again tonight. And when you're in those spots, you're going to have to set a precedent the next time you come in. To me, if he backs Jorge Polanco off the plate, I think he's cooked. I think Jorge's cooked because he can't lean out over. That fastball was it wasn't middle, it was a little middle away. And you can't let guys get that much extension on your 100-mile-an-hour heater.
Yeah, it also looks like Kratzy's saying, a guy throws 100 miles an hour. Guys are just cheating to the fastball. I mean, they're not respecting his secondary pitches. Maybe he's got to come in and almost pitch backwards a little bit to try to get the guys off the fastball. And, knowing the both hitting coaches that are in Seattle, I had them in Atlanta, and, they're good at preaching those little fine details of, hunt the pitch that you feel like you can do damage on, kind of eliminate the other pitches. He hasn't really shown the ability to, land the secondary pitches or throw them consistently throughout the at-bat. He might show you the get me over one early, but is he going to go to it again and again? Ultimately, he wants to get back to the heater, and I respect him for it because if I had a triple-digit heater too, I'd want to show it off too. But also to Kratz's point, when guys are getting out in front and leaning out over the plate, you got to move their feet. You got to show them something. Get it up a little high and tight, move their feet a little bit, make it a little bit less comfortable because facing 100 miles an hour should never be comfortable.
And he's pitched in every game so far in the playoffs for Toronto. 6 games. Yeah, they're going to keep throwing him out there. I mean, hindsight, blah, blah, blah. But if you're a Toronto fan right now, you're like, damn it. I wish we went the extra mile and got ourselves Duran, somebody else. Even if they got a Varland, right? Like they could use another high leverage guy right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody
Sir
can.
Anthony Dominguez too. They got Sir Anthony down there too, and he's typically their 8th inning guy. To Kratz's point, Louis just kind of. I think the team knew what they were getting. I don't think baseball really knew much about Louis Varland. He was kind of hidden in an organization that maybe you hadn't seen him pitch a lot. When I saw the move, I'm like, oh, does that really move the needle? And then you watch him pitch, and the guy is legit. He's earned the right to kind of be this fireman. When at the highest leverage of the game, whether that's in the 4th inning, the 8th inning, somewhere in between, then you're going to Louis Varland. And to your point, yeah, he's given up some home runs. You could kind of even eliminate the one to Judge. That was just that was Judge just being Judge. He did give up the homer to Jazz, where it was kind of a fastball that kind of leaked over the plate. But, I think both of our points about having to move the guy's feet, make him feel a little bit more uncomfortable, but also being able to kind of maybe pitch backwards for a little bit, trust the secondary stuff to at least steal a strike, maybe a second strike, and then try to elevate the heater up out of the zone, try to speed people up a little bit because people don't look like they're sped up on his fastball right now.
Meanwhile, on the Seattle side, Bizzardo is a huge factor for them now. And he's just a guy that you can add to the circle of trust. So it's a special group here going for Seattle. I mean, Bizzardo, obviously Munoz, Brash, like they've got some big boys that are getting the job done. Also, I mean, some guys, go through hot stretches, cold stretches, and that happens to hit at the right or wrong time. And right now in the postseason, Seattle's got it going with their bullpen. So let's do final thoughts here. KP, the Blue Jays come back if?
I think the Blue Jays come back if they take a recipe out of their book from the first series and score first, score early, try to silence the crowd in Seattle. It's going to be a very rowdy crowd, but what people who haven't played for the Blue Jays don't understand and maybe haven't experienced, Seattle for a long time was considered Toronto West Coast. You get a lot of that influx of people from the West Coast of Canada come down. So that's something I'm going to be interested in seeing because there was days I went there for batting practice and there might be 20,000 Blue Jay fans there watching practice. It was maybe their only opportunity to watch their beloved Blue Jays come remotely close to them on the West Coast, and they would come down. How Seattle kind of maybe try to counteract that with ticket sales, maybe not selling tickets across the border, to be seen. But I think the Blue Jays have to score in that first inning like they did in the Yankees series, silence the crowd, get a couple shutdown innings, get that kind of momentum back, get that confidence back, and I think they'll be fine.
Kratz, I'll go the other way unless you've got something strong on Toronto. The Mariners sweep if?
They keep doing what they're doing. The Mariners sweep if the Blue Jays bats don't wake back up. Really, I mean, I think that's how the Blue Jays got to where they were. They gave up a lot of runs. Everybody remembers Game 3 when John Schneider just orchestrated this beautiful, beautiful 9 pitchers, 9 innings type of game. But the reality is the Blue Jays got where they were because they were banging. They were hitting dingers. They were getting on base. Blue Jays don't hit. They get swept.
There you have it. And we know that ALCS Game 3 in Seattle will be available not just on Fox, the TV station, but on Fox One, the brand new app sponsoring us here for this post-game show. If you would like to get your hands on Fox One, the website's very simple, fox1.com, or if you want to hit the QR code or description at the bottom of the episode here on podcast or YouTube format, if you want to click that link to give FT a little bit of love, that would be cool to check it out there. Brady on Sundays, AJ on many Saturdays during baseball season, regular season. But John Smoltz along with Joe Davis will keep rolling with the call for that one, and then you can catch the World Series on that Fox One app. Go check it out. See if you can get yourself a little 7-day free trial to get started and see what it's all about. FT fam, we're back on Tuesday for our regular 1 o'clock Eastern time show. Thanks for watching the post-game reacts. Congrats to the Mariners going home up 2-0